team. And today I'm going to take you through a number of things that we've released in JIRA over the past, say, 6 months, as well as our most recent release in JIRA 6.4 a couple of weeks ago. We'll do a bit of a deep dive, show you how to use some of the features, and also give you an idea of where we're taking JIRA with JIRA in the future. But before we do that, I want to just talk about teamwork. We're really big into teamwork at JIRA. And we're always trying to think of ways that we help teams to organise their work, get them through their workloads faster, so they can go and achieve more. So I just want to talk about some of the things that we've seen in teamwork that sort of set the context for the features that we've built. Some of these have been here since the dawn of time. They're things that have been going for some time, and other things are new. The first part is the first part that we observe is organisations still have challenges with individuals and teams working in silos, which isn't ideal, right? You get a lot of information sharing, and people don't go into achieve as much as they can. So what we really want to be doing is encouraging a lot more collaboration, right? And so we've got teams working, communicating, sharing information, talking about the problem, solving them together. What then tends to happen is that we see that teams then start putting structure in place, right? Okay, let's get a team together, let's get them to go and solve problems, which creates other problems, right? You can get this sort of command and control type behaviours happening. And again, it's something that we want to see happen more is individuals being able to look at self-empowered, a little bit flat organisations where they can really do their best because everyone can make a big impact. At Atlassian internally, we say, big change you see. So we want people to go in there and contribute in the way that they can, using their skills to the most effective. The other problems we see are around information not being shared widely, and it's difficult to do your job if you don't know what's happening, right? So another thing is that what we're trying to encourage is transparency. You want to have the data there, you want to be able to give the people the things they need to do to get their job done well. Now these things have been around for a little while. Some of the newer things that we're starting to see are, there's a lot of information systems going on at the moment. So we're starting to see a lot of different sources, and very often they conflict. Right? You go to a billing system, you go to a data usage system, and you spend a lot of time trying to reconcile and figure out actually what is this data telling me, how to make a decision. So another thing we want to do in JIRA is remove that problem, right, and create a single source of truth so everyone can work on data that is accurate and make the best decisions we can. Other things that have changed, particularly in software teams, is that it's not just developers It's not just developers in the software team anymore. We've also got designers involved and data scientists. And particularly, we're all trying to ship features these days where we want to know that it's actually made a real impact on customers, good or bad, and we want to go and measure that. So there's a lot more diversity of skills and types of people that are getting involved in software development. And there's a lot more people working in their offices. They're not even in the same room. And this creates some interesting challenges. There's a lot of dependencies, inefficiencies in communication that we need to solve. So in JIRA, what we're trying to solve here is our whole thing is around trying to make teams work faster together. Right? We want to get teams working more productively, helping them get through the things they need to do quicker. We want them to be as connected as possible. You'll see this through some of the demonstrations I did, where we've connected JIRA with development tools. So teams now are not just working in their silos of planning or coding, they're actually together. And following on from that, we want to create a single source of truth. So, first thing I'll do is a deep dive into software teams and some of the things that we've been building into JIRA over the past 6 months. So, some things that are just helping teams plan smarter. This first thing we did here was in-line issue create. So when you go to the backlog in JIRA Agile, we've now put this feature in here where you can directly type issues inline. Just you'll notice there a little cursor there where you just go and select the issue type, and type of way quick answer to put those into the backlog. Real quick and fast way. We always find it really useful when we're doing planning meetings, just putting issues in the moment. And the nice thing it does is it retains the context. You see when we've added those issues, it's kept the selected epics and anything else that you've selected from there. The other feature we put in here is the ability to pre-assign work. So you'll see now on each of the issues there is an avatar on some of them on the right. And what this is doing is it's allowing you to pre-assign some of the tasks to specialists in the team. Because we know that specialists, their skill set are quite hard to get. And what we want to do here is help teams plan for that. So you don't want to go and plan and accept a sprint and then later on get into the situation where these specialists are not there to help us. We've also provided a summary at the top. A lot of teams, I guess the efficiencies come in by either over or under assigning work. So you see at the top we've provided a nice summary of who's working and on what. Are they overloaded? Are they not overloaded? We also brought in a feature that allows you to customise your fields. So both on the plan mode and the work mode, you can go in there and select up to 3 distinct fields. I'll show you how to do that. You go to JIRA Agile board configuration, click on Current Layout, you'll get to this page, and it's pretty easy to go in there and select from that long list of fields that you want to put in there. Again, independently on the plan mode and work mode, you can select up to 3 custom fields. And this is what it looks like once you've selected those. You can see just at the bottom of each of those issues, there are 3 fields that are just configured. And also on the boards, you can see there's some 3 fields there. We find people like to put in either the customer that this ticket's going for, or due dates, business value, all sorts of things that can help you, either when you're prioritising or you're working in context. We also built a couple of new reports that help you with getting through either your sprints or your Kanban processes. The first one, the control chart, is typically used by Kanban users. What it shows you is the cycle time of all of your issues. So all those dots represent a particular issue's cycle time. The red line, is the average of all time. The blue line is the rolling average. And the nice thing is that you can select here, zoom in, and hover over the cluster of issues. And what will give you an idea is have a look at those outliers that are taking too much time and figure out why it just helps you continue to improve. This is our release burn down chart. It's a nice classic burn down. You start at the front with the original estimate of stories, and it just gives you a burn down based on your last 3 sprints velocity, or the average of the last 3 sprints. It gives you an idea when you're going to get to the end of burning through all that scope. Now the nice thing this does is it also factors in scope increase, right? So you see the on sprint 33, that +5 there. 5 story points are brought into this extra, right? So the scope creep happening here. And you'll see again there on sprint 34, another 13 are brought in there. And what this burn down chart does overall is actually read baselines. So it actually tells you, okay, well, you brought in more sprint, you've got more scope, that's going to take longer to get through. But we automatically work that out for you, right? So according to this example here, 6 more sprints remaining to get through that current scope of work. So the things we've done around planning and reporting. Around delivering, a lot of the work we've done is around integrating JIRA with development tools, right? Because we want the whole team to be in sync. The first thing we did was this feature which allows you to create a branch. Any developer going into a battle or picking up an issue, you can click on that create branch from JIRA. They get pushed straight into a stash, or what they're using Bitbucket, and all the information is automatically configured. Off they go, configured. Pretty much after a few clicks, they can get into the zone and start coding, and everything's being tracked back in JIRA quite nicely. The second thing we did here was the development panel. So for every issue that you go to now, we pull through all this information, again from other stash, Bitbucket, GitHub is also supported here, and it shows you, exactly what the story is in the code. So I'll show you, how many branches have been created, how many commits have gone through, the status of any pull requests, builds, and also deployments. The The other feature that we did was automatically transition statuses. Jay quick went through this in his presentation earlier on. What we're doing here essentially is JIRA's statuses can be automatically updated from the developer tool based on certain events. I won't go over this again. What I'll do is actually show you how to set this up. So what you want to do is go to your workflow in the JIRA project and open up the workflow editor. And what you do, so what you want to do is then click on the transition that you want to automate. In this case, we'll go from code review to closed. Click on triggers, and click on add trigger. You get this whole selection of events that you can map this to. So we'll go pull request merged. As you can see, we'll test it against the working with stash. And there you have it, we've added a trigger. So what this trigger is saying is that you can hey JIRA, listen out for a pull request from stash. When you hear that for this issue, automatically move the code review to closed. This is what it looks like from a team perspective once you set it up. So in this example, there's one issue here in code review, and one team member is going to come in and go, I'll pick that up. So you can click on that, look at the pull request. You go, yeah, there's one open pull request here. You'll click over to stash. Do his review, he's gone, yep, I'll merge that in. We proceed to do that. And that's what he really is doing. And you can go back to JIRA and double check that it's happened, and you can see everything's kept up to date. So the idea of this feature here is that your statuses in JIRA are now kept up to date as close to real time as possible, and the information there is accurate. It's not this issue is not sitting in code review still. It's actually merged and done. Now, the third part I'm going to talk through here is about creating some single source of truth. And in order for us to do this, we need to provide the whole team the kind of systems that bring them all together throughout the entire cycle, end to end. So, obviously, we start with the backlog, making sure there's a good backlog in place. As you know, we've got plan backlog mode in JIRA Agile to help you do that. Make sure that you're putting your stories in there, breaking them down, estimating them, and making sure they're always prioritized. So the team always knows what is the most important thing they should be working on. Obviously, we process them either through Scrum, Kanban, whatever processes you like to do. And in JIRA Agile, we've had a very popular feature to visualize that work and get team members collaborating on that work in progress. But all that doesn't matter. All that doesn't matter unless you actually ship software to customers. And in Agile, our best measure of progress, like I say, our best measure of progress is to see working software. So what we're seeing is that we want to not just get issued to done, we want to get them out into the customer's hands. And this is a feature that we've built in this to provide that complete end-to-end coverage of the software development cycle for the entire team. So you can see here, let's get it done, let's ship it to customers, and it's also a real exciting feature to talk about. I'll show you what it looks like in a second, but it's the high point for any software team, right? When you finally got through all your issues, all that work done, it's down to the customer's hand. You want to get it out there. You want to see what they say as well. It's no secret the best software teams are the ones who do this fast, often get feedback, pull it back into their backlogs and do it again. But that's what it looks like externally, right? But I'm pretty sure most of you have gone through releases. It doesn't look that neat. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and a lot of stuff happens last minute. And normally you go, okay, we've got all these things ready to go. We hit that release button, and there are always things that surprise us at the 11th hour. Things go wrong. And I'll give you an example from some of the projects that I've been involved in. You don't want to be like this every time when you go through doing releases. So in this particular release, we've got all these items done, marked in the version 1.1 before it's going out, and shipped it, right? The first thing that happened was that we found out that there were some pricing changes that happened on our website. And that was basically about a week later, it actually got into this release. It turns out that some code from the JIRA project was merged in and actually went out with this release. So the release actually looked like that, not a little bit bigger, had a bit more stuff. And that's an example of one surprise that happens when certain bits of code get merged in that weren't tracked. So, now, we also in this example, we're working hard on new search services on our website as well. And after we shipped the version, we went in there, we couldn't actually find it. And when we looked into it, it turned out that the code actually hadn't been merged. It was marked as done, but the code was still sitting on a branch somewhere else. It actually wasn't in there, so that's why it didn't make it into our release. I then got a call from support, and support said, hey, our users can't log in anymore with this particular browser. We were looking into it and going, how did that happen? We looked into the issue. It turns out that the developer pushed this through without getting a code review. So we sort of think that if you consulted the rest of the team, maybe they would say, okay, we actually still support this browser rather than deciding not to support it. So these are a couple of examples that typically happen that can make releases go in a not so good way, and it can be very frustrating. So before I get into showing what we've done, I'm going to go through a few development practices that we recommend that you do to help increase the quality of releases. A lot of this is about trying to keep your release stable and in a releasable state. I'll go through pretty quickly. Branching per issue. At Atlassian, we branch for every single anything, like bugs, features, and the really nice thing about branching is that it helps you see the status of a particular feature. This is an example of, there's always a bunch of issues and related code happening in JIRA. And if you use SVN, the truck, or just look at the master in Git, it's a bit hard to see the actual status of each of these. How much of those are done, which are complete. It's also really hard to go back if you really need to. Feature branching allows you to, what you do is you take master and create a new branch for that feature. And what this allows the developer to do is then continue to write commits to it, and when they then when they feel it's passing its test, we can then merge it back in. And the good part about this is it keeps feature work isolated, so you know if you need to bring that feature in, it's nice and in one component. And then when it's ready to be merged, it's merged back in a way that keeps master stable. Again, you want to keep that in a releasable state. The trick here is to make sure you keep the branches as possible, because if you don't, obviously it makes it difficult for everyone to collaborate. You can't create a new feature branch if things are not running and passing their tests. The next practice that we endorse is continuous integration, which is where the team commits to master several times a day, all the time. So what we find is that, what continuous integration does is when you commit back to master, it'll tell you immediately whether you've broken that build. So whether you've actually broken the ability for us to release and maintain our code in a releasable state. And the good thing about this is the developer then is told then on that spot to figure out why that happened rather than doing it later on. While the code and the context is still fresh. So always build master. It can be a bit difficult. I guess always having to clone configs all the time, but if you use Atlassian's Bamboo solution, that the continuous integration test will be automatically configured. Now, the third part we also encourage are pull requests, and that's because there's only so much you can automate. Right? You still need some human involvement to tackle things like technical debt and things like inefficient code. So we'd like to get all of our developers reviewing each of their contributions. This is how it works. So you create a branch. The developer then asks the team members to review the code and pull it in and merge if it's good. This is what it looks like when you actually go into Stash. As you can see, what it does is it shows you the differential in the code, what's changed, and the person reviewing can go in there, quickly see what's changed, provide some comments and feedback. And we like this practice because by providing feedback, it's an element of education for the rest of the team. We find it catches bugs, requirements get delivered closer to acceptance requirements of acceptance criteria, and it also encourages the team to build code in a maintainable way, so that when they or someone else comes back to work on their code, it's in a better state. Maintenance of code is a huge cost that you need to bring in. So just recapping on that, feature branching, continuous integration, and pull requests. I ran through that super quick. If you'd like some more information, please go to Atlassian.com/review. So let's get back to releasing is hard, right? So what we want to catch, or where we don't want to be, is we're releasing in this state where there's still feature work going on, and that hasn't emerged back in to what we want to release. We don't want to have our main master branch ready, right? It's failing its test, it's not in a releasable state. And we want to make sure that there are no sort of surprises, surprise code getting into the release. Now that sounds like a lot of overhead, right, to go and check through every single issue. Have we followed these things? Is it continuously integrated, parsing? Is it merged? And so forth. So what we did was build a feature that automates this for you. So again, it takes JIRA and development tools and puts them together. Now when you get into your release, the first thing that's at top of mind is typically questions about scope and risk. So right at the top here, we've put together this overview chart here that shows you that breakdown precisely of what's done, still in progress, and to do. You can also, if you click on the progress, it also gives you a breakdown of the individual statuses within there, so you can see a bit more detail. For example, here we've got development, review, QA, go through the waiting review. Now, I've clicked on this tab here, you'll see there in the middle, it says issues done, 73. So what this is showing you is all the issues that are marked as done, right? They're saying, for this version, this is what we think is ready to be shipped. Now you'll notice on the far right of all of these issues, there's development information. So this now gives you visibility to go and look at those issues and go, okay, are they really done? You can look at it, are they convinced there? Has it actually been merged? Are the builds passed? But if you've got 73 issues, that's a lot of work to be going and checking, which is why we've also built a warnings tab. So what warnings do is it actually filters out all the done issues that have problems that are okay. It only shows you the done issues that have problems. So you see here there's a whole bundle of things here that enable you to quickly go in and see the release readiness state of your version. So just going back again, the 3 warnings that we deliver are issues that are marked as done, but they still haven't opened pull requests. They're actually not merged into the code, so they're not going to be shipped. So we'll raise a warning there to go, hey, you probably do go and see why the code hasn't been merged, because they aren't going out. The other type of warning is done issues that are not passing their test. So again, you probably want to go in there and see why they're not passing the test, because you don't want to release the software if the tests are failing. And finally, if there's any code that has skipped its code review, we'll also highlight that, because you probably want to get a second opinion on the code before it gets merged. So you'll see that they're all clustered into these groups here, unreviewed code, and failed builds. Now you look at this and go, wow, there's a lot more. There's 106 issues targeted for this version. Wow, 52 warnings. Right? But if you look at this example, we're still about 28 days out from our release. Far better to know that right now. We've still got a few weeks to go rather than, without this feature, potentially only discovering these things at the 11th hour. Now, we recognise that not all teams do these practices, such as continuous integration and code review. And as always with JIRA, we want to be able to allow you to work the way you want to work. So you can click on this Manage Warnings button and decide whether you want to use any of these warnings or not. We'll find some teams, for example, with code reviews, it may actually be reflected in the actual tools like Bitbucket and Stash. Some teams just like to do over-the-shoulder code reviews. So you can turn that off and do that way. So really, this is now giving us a clear picture that everything really now is truly ready to go, right? And what Release Hub is telling you is done, and there are no more warnings. You can be a lot more confident that you're going to be able to ship that. Now, great, we now got all our warnings to 0. We also have a release button. You see it on the top right. And you click on that. And if you use Atlassian's Bamboo build tool, you can deploy this to wherever you configure it to. You deploy it to staging, put it straight out to production. So that's Release Hub. We've put this together to give you information instantly on your release readiness. Hopefully that gives you information a lot earlier in the process and means that you can be a lot more confident about shipping with quality and to the committed timeframes. This is now live in JIRA Cloud and JIRA Server 6.4. And you'll notice on the far right there's a new sidebar. There's a little ship icon. We chose the ship to sort of reflect our Atlassian shipment days. The whole culture of shipping stuff into customer centers. So you click on that and you'll get access to Release Hub through that. So that's software teams. I'm going to now sort of move a little bit away from the team itself. So we're trying to release things that focus on the individual team, how they can be working faster, being better connected, and working with a single source of truth. What I'm going to talk about now is how do you scale that across teams. So, say we have a couple of projects running. A lot of the time it's quite hard, all teams are running very fast, potentially in different directions. How do we track this in a way that doesn't cause confusion and chaos? I guess the first thing we've acknowledged in JIRA is that you need to have a view across all of these projects. Somewhere where you can go, one place that shows you everything across what's happening in these projects. We also need a way to plan releases across projects. So everyone's contributing to cross-project goals and releases. And we also need to know how this ties into the strategy. Now, things happen, right? Sometimes one of the projects are lagging behind, and what we need to be able to do is respond to that. And we need to know, we need to have the information to be able to make that call, right? For example, here, Project 3 is at Stripe. I need to know whether shipping movers in Project 2 to 3 is actually going to help, because they're going to jeopardize Project 2. So a lot of these problems we're starting to tackle here. So the manager of the business needs to know how the overall project is going. How are we going to deliver on our releases across all these projects? Typically, engineering managers, VPs of engineering, need to be able to load balance their teams, right? They've only got finite resources, who they're going to put on which projects to keep them on track. And importantly as well, the teams need to know how they contribute to the big picture. So first things, we need to plan at scale, we need to respond to changes, and we need a unified picture to see the whole, how it all fits together. So we released a JIRA portfolio last September, and the first thing I'll show you here is how it helps you bring together an overall arching picture of work across projects in JIRA. You'll see here, we just clicked on this button, Create Initiative, and below this now we're creating one level below, which is actually an epic. And below epics, obviously, we can create stories. So epics and stories have always lived in JIRA and Agile at the project level. So what this is doing now is introducing one hierarchy higher an initiative, which then allows you to track that initiative across different JIRA Agile projects. Now, we also factor in estimation and using some burn downs when projects are likely to get shipped. So JIRA portfolio also has a notion of releases and versions. You can see here, this one has a target date of November. And what portfolio does is it allows you to, do some scenario planning, try different things. So let's try and bring this feature in. And see what it does. You click on that button at the top there and calculate things. So you can see now it's recalculated based on the estimates and burn down velocities. And turns out that our ship date actually has moved out a month. The other thing that the portfolio allows you to do is quite nice is have a notion of capacity planning. Right? So let's go back to this example. Let's actually fix our date. Let's not let it drag out to December. Let's keep it in November. You can see now it's now showing you that actually, because we've brought in that extra feature, you're actually going to miss that. So one way to go about this is adding more team members, right? More resources to the picture. So what this is doing now is we're adding in additional team members with the notion of their weekly working hours and their skill set. And you can see now, by adding some additional team members to it, we've brought the project back into the original time frames. So it allows you to do some scenario planning, what if type of things so you can make decisions. You also get a high level of progress across projects. Again, looking at this view here of initiatives. All the initiatives contain epics, potentially from different JIRA projects. It shows you the progress against cross-project initiatives. And you can also split the view across different teams. So this is showing you now different teams, what their backlog is like. You can see how each team is going also at an individual level. We get this question a lot about how about frameworks like SAFe, the large-scale Agile, and in JIRA, we've always taken the approach that whatever works for you, we want to be able to support. So we don't sort of advocate any of these things. If you look at what we do in JIRA Agile, Scrum, it's up to you how you want to do it. You can go in there and start your own workflows. Same thing here. If you want to do SAFe, I believe you can do this with your portfolio. And but again, it's tuned to your needs. So again, we need a way to plan at scale. And I guess the one thing we want to say here as well is it's not about just doing top-down planning. It's still about agile planning. You need to continuously plan. So some of those examples I gave you there's a lot of scenario planning, what-ifs that are happening here, and that's what JIRA portfolio is designed to help you do. Now, once you have a look at all these things, you then need to set your plans right. So you need to actually move some teams around, change your backlog around. You can then set that and track that in JIRA portfolio, and then you can get an overall picture of how things are happening across your projects. So that's JIRA portfolio. Now the next section I'm going to touch on just very briefly is about, again, scaling, but more around scaling JIRA itself. So we actually got a lot of projects, a lot of issues, a lot of users in there. How do you make JIRA run at scale? So we introduced JIRA Data Center last year, in addition to our server and cloud offering. And what it does is allows you to run JIRA in a clustered environment. So really performance and scale is what JIRA Data Center is about. We've tested this, and as you can see here, as you add more nodes, the capacity of the instance goes up a lot. So if you have a need for a lot of users, a lot of issues, a lot of projects, a lot of demand in JIRA, check out JIRA Data Center. It also comes with Premier support, so we're always there to help you out to manage your very, very large instances. Okay, so I've spoken a lot about what we're doing in JIRA now. I'm going to now turn a little bit to show you what JIRA might look like beyond software teams. So here are a few customer examples I just wanted to highlight to you about how JIRA is being used for with non-technical teams, non-software teams. Blue Capital, based in New York, use JIRA for almost everything in their business, for all their workflows and processes. One example specifically here is employee time off. So they use JIRA to log leave requests and process that, get them approved, and when they actually get approved, tracking them there. You haven't seen it, they create their own dashboard to actually show who's on leave in the JIRA dashboard there. They actually use this everywhere as well, like with their investor relations. So when their customers ask for specific information, they're required to have their legal team review what's being sent back to the customer. So JIRA again is allowing them to have that tight control over making sure the right people have reviewed that work before it goes out. The CEO has told us that he uses this for everything. So the way he interacts with his PA for both work and his personal stuff is actually taken care of inside of the same JIRA instance. Honeywell have used JIRA for this initiative they call Kaizen. And what it is, they've asked all employees to contribute ideas to improve the business. Anything that they can do to help improve things. So this is a good way of how JIRA projects are now being used to log things that are not just software specific, but helping teams improve the business level. The next example I'll give you is the Lower Colorado River Authority. And they track all the executives track all the work that they're doing. They look after the water supply, electricity, all the facilities out in the Lower Colorado area. And this just helps them stay on the same page, making sure that they're aware of what was working on what. So how might this be represented in JIRA? So right now we have software. By the way, what I'm showing here are concepts, they're not how it looks like inside JIRA. But right now, we're familiar with this sort of case here where you've got a software project. And software projects, typically, we'd like to run Scrum or Kanban. And what we've done here is, you would have seen this in JIRA 6.4, where we've released a new sidebar that puts these things together. So what we've done is put the objects that matter the most to teams, like get their backlog together, run through their sprints, release their software. Add in shortcuts that matter so they can navigate to the things they need to as quickly as possible. Reports that are very software specific. You get into the issues, and they've got things like very software specific fields and development information. Very software specific. If we turn to another type of project like JIRA Service Desk, the way teams operate in service desks are very different. They're not interested in going through bug fixes and boards and Scrum. What they're interested in is they provide services to customers. So they're interested in seeing the queues for service, interested in SLAs. So in a service desk type project, we then start raising things that matter more to service desk projects and users. Business users. The business users have very different needs as well, and they typically want to see a bunch of different types of filters of things that they need to do. So what we've put in here in this example is a number of things that might require escalated higher priority items that they need to get through. For example, finance team might be able to put certain reports through that have a higher priority than not. And help them collaborate with what they need to do. So that's sort of three simple examples, right? The project that has software services or business, and you can see how in JIRA, if you navigate to your projects, that each different project actually has a different method to it, right? So you'll see a mix of software projects, services projects, and business projects. So, what do you think about JIRA projects? We have a project that is software specific, business software service specific, that has queues and SLAs, the things that matter to those teams and business teams, being able to create their own queues and filters to see what's the most important thing they need to be working on. But let's think a little bit further and think about what HR teams might want to see. So for HR, the kind of work that typically happens might be processing a candidate through the recruitment process, right? Interview, first round, second round. HR also needs to onboard new staff when they come into the organisation. A risk project. So risk managers wanting to see profile of all their issues and profiling, what are those things that are really not looking good, big risky out there, and the things that are on track, well known, well controlled. So just a couple of other examples, HR and risk management. But you can see where we're getting at here, but each project is different. Each project has different tools. The team requires different tools to get through their things. So JIRA is going to start seeing people. JIRA will start having more project types that will be specific to these different teams, and you're probably asking them how and when are these going to be available. First thing is that we are looking at building these things. So right now the team is busy working on solving some of these problems and working on what kind of new project types should we introduce. But really, we're also looking outside of Atlassian here. The ecosystem has been very good at building add-ons, and the project types themselves are actually a nice way to actually introduce how an add-on applies directly to that type of use case and project type. But also, we're looking at this as a way that companies can actually create their own custom project types. Because again, we know that everyone works in their own different way and can achieve more by doing creating project types that are very specific to what they need to use. So I hope that excites you. We really believe that this will help teams go on to deliver more than currently, where we have just sort of a one type of project type and features. So, just to summarise everything, what's next for JIRA overall? You'll continue to see us put more into the integrations we've had with JIRA and development tools. So all those features have been shown to help our software teams to get through, create a single source of truth, working code as well as tracking through the backlog, the sprints, and the release section. You'll see us provide more solutions in our data center offering, helping our customers run at scale, and expanding JIRA to help teams beyond software. So, bringing me to the end of my presentation, I just wanted to share a few photographs of the teams I work with in JIRA across the different offices we have in San Francisco, Sydney, Gdansk, Poland, Saigon, Vietnam. So I encourage you, all of you today, please come and speak to me or let me know any questions you might have about JIRA or any requests that you have. So I'd love to be able to take the stories back to our team and share that with them about how we might improve JIRA. Thank you.